What up, my dude? What's going on, everybody? NFL drafts now. Well, technically not yet. We still got 20, 25 selections left to go. NFL draft for the Atlanta Falcons is now in the books. I don't see us trading back into the 7th round and picking anybody. We'll obviously pick up undrafted free agents, which, listen, I'm interested to see. You got to have those competitions in camp, obviously, but we'll get to that in a second. But the 2023 NFL draft is now complete for the Atlanta Falcons. Obviously, we really anticipated this draft, particularly what we were going to do at number 8, but it kind of also felt like, some people were overshadowing, what we were going to do in this draft. So when really looking at it, I think first of all, what this draft sums down to is we really completed our team in many ways during this draft. And you might have not realized it, especially early on when we picked Bijan Robinson in 8, which everyone's already covered that pick. I'm not going to spend too much time on that pick. But basically what that pick boiled down to was we addressed the defense in free agency. And let me see if my audio is working. All right, everything's good. So when we picked Bijan Robinson at 8, we did not realize it at the time because for me, I was kind of bummed out Tyree Wilson was picked by the Raiders right before. And a lot of people were bummed out we didn't get Jalen Carter, we didn't trade back. But when you really think about that pick, it did make sense. Not only for what Terry Fontenot's history now is, and because this is now their 3rd draft, they now have a history. We can now base off, their resume drafting has now kind of turned into a little bit of history. We see a pattern. We see how they like to draft, what they like to go after, the makeup that they're looking for in each round. And in that first round, we clearly see that they prioritize those skill positions. They say best player available, but that just so happens to be skill positions in the first round. And Bijan Robinson at that time, let's be honest, what you're looking for in a prospect is someone who's clean, who's cut, and who is ready to go out and be the best player on that football field. And at number 8, honestly, that is what Bijan Robinson was. He is, looking at it, the best, no doubt the best running back prospect to come out in 5-6 years. So he is definitely a top 10 talent, and he's going to come in and he will definitely be part of this team and will make an impact. Not so much, but I'm also going to say this. I'm not one of these guys that's going out and expecting Bijan Robinson to end up with 1,600 yards and 13 or 14 touchdowns. Honestly, I think Bijan can definitely break Algiers' record, but I don't honestly expect him to. I expect Bijan Robinson to probably get about 900 yards and 7 or 8 touchdowns rushing. Yeah, I think, man, Bijan's only a rookie. I understand you get that best production out of those running backs in early years, but you also got to understand what's behind Bijan. Tyler Algier. Algier's still going to be a big part of this offense this year, guys. I expect Tyler Algier to have 700, 800 rushing yards and probably about 5-6 touchdowns. That leaves, and you got to also look at it. Arthur Smith said they're going to be a more balanced team this year. Desmond Ridder is going to be passing that football. Now, I think Bijan, he can obviously make an impact in the passing game as well. So I don't think it's outlandish to expect maybe 400 yards and 3 or 4 touchdowns through the air for him. But you also got to think, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, they're going to be a big part of the offense. Jonnu Smith's going to be a big part of this offense. But CP now all of a sudden for this offense becomes the true wild card with the selection of Bijan Robinson. You don't know where we're putting him. You don't know what his move is going to be. All you know is that you got to account for him. But you also got to account for, let's see, 1, 2, 3 other, at least you can count 3 other beasts on that football field, maybe even 4, because what you could get, here's what you could get. You could get Drake out left, Kyle Pitts in the tight end position, Bijan in the slot, maybe Cordero lined up in the other wide receiver outside slot or position, and Algier in the backfield. Or here's another thing you could get. You could get Drake out wide, Kyle Pitts in the slot, Jonnu lined up as your tight end, and Bijan in the back. There's so many ways this offense can go. And that's what's going to make just going to give defenses fits is you don't know now where we're going to be able to go. So I'm going to say this leading into the selection, the trade up in selection of Matthew Bergeron. That's how you say it. He's Canadian. Initially, when I saw we traded up, I was fully expecting it to be an edge rusher because I'm like, okay, you got the best player available. You go, you get Keon Watt. But you think about it initially, and you think offensive line's always kind of a boring pick. You don't get that many offensive line prospects that get you all excited and jumping out of your seat. But as you then think about it, see, these first 2 picks were picks that I feel like you had to digest. You wanted to just shove it down your throat, and you wanted to have the initial feel. You wanted it to feel good before it even went into your stomach. Yeah, we'll talk about him in a minute. You wanted to, feel it before it even went into your stomach. You didn't digest it. You didn't even take a bite of it. You just wanted to, ooh, this is going to taste so good. And I can't lie, I did it too. You wanted to feel good with the pick off of your preferred choice. But as you took it in, you don't really feel good about it initially. You're trying something new. You feel iffy about it. You digest it pretty good, right? That's what I thought of these first 2 picks. Bijan I had to sleep on. Initially, I being honest, I did not like the pick. Then I thought about it. I'm like, he's a great player, great talent, but still bummed out Tyree didn't fall. Still kind of bummed out we didn't get Jalen Carter. But I slept on it Thursday night. Woke up Friday morning, thought about it early Friday. I'm starting to love this pick. And then Bergeron, man. Kind of same thing. Took a little quicker. Thought about it, kind of a little bummed out. But then thought, smart pick. Because obviously that right side of that offensive line with the two boogeymen with the blue collar side of the offensive line in your right side is already set with Lindstrom and McGarry. You have Jake Matthews at left tackle. But left guard was obviously a big hole. It's been a big hole for a minute now on the Falcons. You get Bergeron in here. He's the likely starting left guard week 1. Look at Matthew Bergeron. He is an excelling run blocker. And he fits Arthur Smith perfectly. Yes, he can probably use some work with pass protection. Guess what? You saw it. Caleb McGarry. He was awful the first few years because he wasn't in the right system. I think I'll say this about Jalen Mayfield. I think Jalen Mayfield is probably about done on this team starting. He might get cut after preseason. I think Mayfield's going to have a great preseason to even stay on this team. Yes, I think Bergeron is going to end up being our starting left guard week 1. We traded up in the second round. He was a pick 38. That's an early second round pick. An early second round pick, honestly, kind of gets the same treatment as that late first round pick, as you kind of expect them to come in and start pretty quickly, sooner rather than later. But I like the Bergeron pick. I like that pick. He's going to end up developing into his own. He's an Arthur Smith guy. He's going to be creating. So not only now is Bijan, Algier, and CP going to have lanes to run through on that right side, they're going to have it on the left side. The only thing I got a little bit of concern about now is center, but Dahlman showed me something. I think they can work with Dahlman. They obviously got to get his snaps right, but there's something to work with there. Yeah, I don't like it. And I was rooting for Mayfield was the thing. I wanted to see him improve last year. But with all the injuries and stuff, man, I don't think he's going to get an opportunity here. And Felipe Franks, I mean, I'll say this. You saw what happened in San Francisco last year. That's probably why Felipe Franks is on this team. He is that emergency option. But if it were up to me, I don't really see a need for Felipe because his ass can't catch the ball worth a damn. So he better be working on his hands this offseason. Or, I mean, his blocking is meh, in my opinion. So Felipe's ass better be putting in that work this offseason, or his ass needs to be gone too. But I like the Bergeron pick. I do. That's where you start filling those needs in the second round. That's what we did. Round 3, pick 75. This was the pick. I like it initially. I like it now. Zach Harrison out of Ohio State. I feel like he's going to be brought along how Grady Jarrett was brought along. I don't expect anything big out of him this year because of who's in front of him. He's now under that learning tree. He's under Calais Campbell. He's under Grady Jarrett. He's under David Onyemata. Yeah, I'll talk about Phil. I like Phillip. I like the Phillips pick. But I definitely like what Zach Harrison can be because look who he's learning from. And you got Ryan Nielsen. So I think that's a pick where that's an investment. You're investing in him. You know, you're going to have to stick it out a couple years. But if he's developed properly, he could potentially turn after Calais leaves. He could take over Calais Campbell's spot. Potentially. So, but he'll get playing time this year. I think that I think he'll get some playing time this year. But I think, you know, that's a pick where, you know, you got to give it a year or two. But I think he's definitely going to hit his stride. Moving into the 3 picks for today. We started off in the 4th round. We got an absolute steal in Clark Phillips III. I love what Clark Phillips III could be. I like the pick. I think, honestly, at the very worst, or at the very least, I should say, you got some great depth there. And at best, you know, Mike Hughes don't end up working out. Clark Phillips can come in and take over that slot position. He can take over IO spot, which, I mean, I love what Clark Phillips can do. I think even with Mike Hughes is basically on, I know it's technically a 2-year deal, basically a 1-year deal. They cut ties with Mike Hughes after this year and let Clark Phillips take over. I mean, I saw something that said if he was a couple inches taller and had just a little bit better measurables, he would have been a 1st-round pick. That's how, you know, much potential this guy has. Obviously, he's got to produce. As it looks like Seattle just took Kenny McIntosh. Hold on. Let's see. Oh, that's the whole. I thought we traded back up. That was just the alert from when we traded with Indy on Twitter. But anyways, I like the Clark Phillips pick. I do. Great pick. Lot of potential there. I think he could definitely see some playing time this year. And that's all I got to say about that pick. Moving on to we had to wait about 5 hours between the 4th round and 7th round when the Falcons made their final 2 selections back to back. The first one was the hitman himself from Tuscaloosa, Alabama's leading tackler last year, DeMarcco Hellams. You know, you might think it's a 7th round pick. And I'll tell you right now, he was a part of that secondary that got absolutely cooked by Tennessee. But you can really move him into the box, and I think that's where you can get some good production out of him. Obviously, he's going to be fighting for a roster spot, but if he can put it together, I think he can make the roster potentially. I mean, he's a great tackler. I mean, for him to be Alabama's leading tackler, you know, I mean, he's got something there. So, yeah, I mean, that's, you know, obviously, you know, I know a little something about that. You think we go major defense next year? Well, we don't really know yet because we haven't even seen the schedule come out. You know, we don't know anything about what's going to happen. Hopefully, we're not picking at number 8 next year. Hopefully, we're picking more like, I'd love to say picking at 28 because then that means what? I'd love to say we'd be picking at like 28 or something next year, but at least in the 20s, that's where we need to be picking next year. It really all depends, but hey, DeMarcco Hellams, nice. I feel like nice pick. Give that man an opportunity. Let's see if he can make the team here in Atlanta. Final pick one, kind of don't get, but at the same time, 7th round, just looking for depth at this point. Jovaughn Gwyn. I hope I said that name right. Jovaughn Gwyn or Gwyn, something like that, from South Carolina. I'll say this about that. I don't know too much about him, to be honest. So honestly, I wouldn't even bet he makes the team. But hey, you gotta look for depth somewhere, and he can provide depth. So there's that. Some shockers. I'm kind of shocked that they. I mean, I'll admit it. I'm kind of shocked they didn't go receiver in this draft at all. Thought maybe that's where they would go with one of the 7th. Thought maybe even trade back up into the 5th or 6th and get a guy. But hey, you gotta think undrafted free agency. That's where they're gonna look for some of these guys. That's where we found Bernhardt last year. Before he got hurt, that's where Bernhardt made the roster. So that's where they're going to look for these guys. They're going to look for Yazira. Oh, crap. He went to Jacksonville. I thought it said he was still on the board. No, he went to Jacksonville. That's a guy I thought maybe you see last into those later rounds. That's a guy I would have liked to get because I feel like he fits what Ryan Nielsen likes to do. He can play many different spots, but hey, can't get everything in this draft. But overall, what would I give the Falcons this draft as far as draft grade goes? Overall, B minus. I'd probably give the Bijan pick a B plus. Bergeron, I'd probably actually give that thinking about it, probably also a B plus. Zach Harrison, B plus. Clark Phillips, A. I think thinking about it value wise, that was probably the best pick of the whole draft because I was not expecting him to be. I wasn't expecting a Darius Rush to be there. I thought maybe they go there, but Clark Phillips, that's a nice pick as well. DeMarcco Hellams, B, and Gwyn guy from South Carolina, C minus, a D. So about a B minus is what I give the Falcons. But, honestly, considering the entire offseason that we've had with all the guys that we signed, I can accept this draft because when you really think about it now, the only hole on the Falcons is really a middle linebacker, in my opinion. That's the only hole I see. I would have definitely liked to have Rashaan Evans back, and maybe they still bring him back, but also he's not really a Ryan Nielsen style of linebacker. So probably what I would expect this offseason or this season is maybe Catanel. I definitely think Troy Anderson's going to line up there in the middle. I think it'll be interesting to see who gets the green dot this year. It could be Troy Anderson. And I'd probably say it is, to be honest. I don't know if it's Michael Walker, just because I think Walker is on a prove-it year, and I definitely think so we probably will be walking into this year with those two, but you also got to think we're playing a 3-4 and a 4-3. So you're going to see a lot of stuff from Ryan Nielsen. He said it. I mean, it's really just they're going out and they want to stop guys. That's what their goal is, to just go out there and stop guys. So that's fully what I expect. Regardless of what we're running, we got to go out there and we got to get the job done. So, as far as how this offseason goes, has went, definitely I'm excited to see what the Falcons do this season. I fully expect a playoff appearance. And heck, I mean, I'm honestly getting to the point, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility you can expect an NFC South title from this team. With everything we've done, what's going on, Jerry? With everything that we've done this offseason, it's not crazy to expect an NFC South title, in my opinion. But this is definitely a team that I think needs to. I do honestly think this is a team that needs to win the NFC South this year. With all of the moves we made this offseason, all the money we've spent, bringing in Jesse Bates, bringing in Calais, bringing in Kane Nellis, bringing in Onyemata, bringing in Bijan Robinson at number 8. Now it's time for Desmond Ridder. Everyone knows I've praised Desmond Ridder. I've been one of the biggest advocates for him. But it's time for his ass to go out there now and put in the work. We've waited. We haven't been to the playoffs in now 6 years. That needs to change this year. And we haven't had a damn playoff game at Mercedes-Benz Stadium yet. That needs to change. When January comes around, we don't need Mercedes-Benz stadiums hot. We don't need Mercedes-Benz Stadium. When late January comes around, we don't need Mercedes-Benz Stadium being talked about as an alternate conference championship site for the AFC championship when the Falcons are in the NFC. The only damn conference championship, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but from this point moving on, the only damn conference championship that needs to be talked about happening in Atlanta is the Falcons hosting the NFC championship. I'm not saying that's happening this year. Now, if we continue to build, I think it could happen in a couple years. But the only damn playoff game that needs to be here in Atlanta is the Falcons hosting a playoff game. We've had a great offseason. We had an exceptional draft. And now it's time to go out there and it's time to do our thing. It's time to take control of the NFL. It's time to catch a lot of people off storm. It's time to have fun while doing it. Because I'm telling you, this is a team that we're going to be disrespectful to a lot of motherfuckers this year. This team is not playing around. We're coming out and we're going to punch some people in the mouth. We're going to have a fun time doing it as well. So you can be there or be square. You can ride with us or you can ride against us. That's simple. And I'm out.